Do you have a weakness for Oreos but wish there was a healthier option? I'm showing you how easy it is to make my gluten-free and vegan Oreos that are equally satisfying as the original. They're made with nutrient-dense ingredients like almond flour, cashew butter, coconut oil, and maple syrup, but they're made without high fructose corn syrup, refined white sugar, flour, and other unnecessary additives. And you are going to feel so proud of yourself for making your own Oreos exactly the way you like them. To mix your cookie batter, you could use an upright mixer or a hand mixer. I'm going to go ahead and use my food processor. To make these gluten-free, we're going to use 1.5 cups of almond flour, half a cup of tapioca flour, a 1/4 cup coconut sugar, 1/4 cup cocoa powder, and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and half a teaspoon salt. For our wet ingredients, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of maple syrup as our natural sweetener, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil melted, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And then we'll simply put on our lid and we're going to mix this until well combined. Now to test the consistency of your dough, just take out a little handful, and then if you can roll it together into a ball in the palm of your hand without it leaving a lot of chocolate residue on your hand, then you know it's perfect. Now if you do get a little bit of chocolate residue on your hands, you need to add a little bit more almond flour. So you can add it 1 tablespoon at a time until your dough gets to this consistency, and you can roll it in your hands without any residue. One of the characteristic features of Oreos is that you have the 2 chocolate cookies that are an even thickness and cut into a circle. So a really simple hack for rolling out your dough into that nice even thickness is just using a set of barbecue skewers, because their width is about 1/8 of an inch, which is a perfect thickness for the cookie dough. So I'm just going to take a sheet of parchment paper and then fold it in half and just give it a crease. And then I'll take my 2 shish kebab skewers and just place them side by side onto my parchment paper. And then I can just take a handful of my dough, and then I'll just kind of roll it together like we used to make worms out of Play-Doh. And then just lay it down in the center. And then with my hands, I'm just gonna go down and kind of press it open. And then close the other half of the parchment paper. And then you'll simply take your rolling pin and starting from the center, just kind of push down until it rests on those skewers. And then you can push the dough out on both ends. Just kind of roll it back and forth on those guides. And then you just lift your parchment paper and you have this perfectly uniform and even cookie dough. Now what I really like about using the parchment paper over the dough is that you don't have to use any additional flour to sprinkle on the dough to keep it from sticking to your rolling pin. Now before we start cutting out our cookies, you'll want to line a cookie sheet with a sheet of parchment paper, and then we'll set this right beside our cookie dough. And to cut out my cookies, I'm just using a really simple set of these nested circular cookie cutters, and you could use any cookie cutters that you like. The one I'm choosing is about 1.5 inches in diameter. So I'm just going to go in and simply push down my cookie cutter to cut out all my circles. And I'll try to cut out as many as I can on this spread of dough. And if the dough wants to stay inside the cookie cutter, well, it just makes my job easier, so I can just pop him out and then it goes right onto my cookie sheet. Now these cookies are not going to spread when they bake, so you can place them fairly close together on your cookie sheet. And then as soon as we've pulled out all of our cookies, we'll go ahead and just take all of our excess dough, and then we'll roll it back together, and then bring in some more dough and start the process all over again. Now you could bake your Oreo cookies as is, or a really simple hack for adding just a little bit of decoration to them, which I think makes them feel a little bit more special, is to take the next smallest cookie cutter, and then it has this really fun little scallop shape. And then you just center it over the top of the cookie, and then just gently press down, just making a little bit of an indentation, and then lift it up, and you have this really cute, almost little flower design on the cookie. And then you can take your shish kebab skewer and take the pointy end and then just push in just a little circle right in the middle of the cookie. Now not only does it look cute and decorative, but it also helps your cookie cook nice and flat. And I think it just adds a really fun and simple little finishing touch. Now you could also just poke a little hole right in the center of your cookie without the scalloped edge, and it still makes it just a little bit more fun. Well, I finished stamping all the Oreos, and I think they look absolutely adorable, and they are ready to go into a 350-degree oven for 10 minutes. Well, here's our baked cookies. I went ahead and pulled the cookie sheet out of the oven, and then just using the parchment paper was able to easily drag it onto a cooling rack, and these have been cooling for about 10 to 15 minutes. I'll go ahead and just set these aside while we make our cream filling. My favorite way to make a really easy cream filling that is vegan, but also is firm enough to hold its shape similar to the original Oreo, is to use white chocolate. In my opinion, the best tasting vegan white chocolate chips are made by Enjoy Life. And as far as I know, they only come as mini morsels. We're going to start by melting these down, and you could either use the double boiler method or I'm going to use a microwave. So you want to start with a microwave-proof bowl, and then we're just going to add about 2/3 a cup of white chocolate chips. And you could use any brand that you like. And then we'll add 1/2 teaspoon of coconut oil. You'll want to melt your white chocolate chips in the microwave using about 20 to 25-second intervals, because this will help keep the chocolate from breaking where it comes really kind of clumpy and dry. And this will most likely take only 2 rounds of about 20 to 25 seconds to be nice and creamy. After 2 rounds of 20 seconds, my chocolate is nice and melted. Now, to add a little more flavor as well as a superfood to our cream, I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of cashew butter. And then we'll just mix it right into our warm chocolate. Now, the chocolate is still warm, but the cashew butter came in and helped to cool it down just a little bit, which is making it a little bit thicker, which is what we want for putting it onto our cookies. Now, once the chocolate cools off, it will solidify, but it will still be a little bit creamy from the cashew butter. Now, you could use a spoon to put the cream onto your cookie, but I found the easiest way to get a nice clean edge is to pipe it on. Now, you could use a piping bag with a tip, but I have found that just a simple sandwich bag works just as well. So I'm just going to take a jar, open up my bag, pour my melted chocolate cream down inside, and then carefully lift out my bag and gently press out any extra air and seal the bag. And then I'm going to pinch the tip, snip it off with a pair of scissors, and then we are ready to pipe. So I'm just going to hold one cookie in my hand and then very gently tip up my bag and then just pipe a nice circle of this cream. I can go all the way around and then fill in the center. And then I'll just set the cookie down and then allow the chocolate to harden up just a little bit before I put another cookie on top. Now, you could also just use a spoon to put some of the chocolate onto your cookies, but it won't be quite as neat on the edges, but it will taste just as good. So I can tell that they're still a little tacky, but they won't spread too much from the weight of the top cookie. So I'll go ahead and take the other half of my cookies, and then I can just go around and gently press them down on top of each of my Oreos. And if you want to be a little more meticulous, you can go ahead and pick up each one so you can carefully push down your cookie and then kind of spread the cream so it's a little more even around the cookie. Or you just press it on there and let it go where it goes, because they're all going to taste the same. Once you've put all the tops onto your sandwich cookies, you can let them sit out until they solidify, or you can put them into the fridge to speed up the process. Or if you're impatient like me, you can try them right away. Crunchy. That is so good. That is a very satisfying bite into an Oreo cookie. I get the very familiar crunch from the cookie, but then I get that really smooth sweetness that comes from the cream that's on the inside. And I love that slightly nutty flavor from the almond flour, as well as the flavor that comes in from the cashew butter. And then they have the perfect amount of salt just to balance the sweet. That is delicious, and I am very proud to say I have made my own Oreos. And I love that they're nutrient dense and vegan and naturally sweetened, which means I'm gonna feel just as good after I eat them. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today in my kitchen to make these cookies. If you'd like to see the full recipe, I've included a link in the video description below. And I also invite you to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you know someone else that is also an Oreo fanatic, please share this video with them. And I cannot wait to have you hang out with me again in my kitchen next time.